everyone. It has been far too long, and for that, I sincerely apologize from my heart. I give you my apologies. I am so sorry. But hello and welcome to not just any episode, but the 10th episode of Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, a freshly brewed coffee and movie review podcast for you. My name is Nick Delaney, and I'm your show host, coffee commenter, stick in the mud movie critic, and the guy who thinks Fight Club isn't all that. Yeah, I said it. So what? It's fine. Really, calm down. It's okay if not everyone likes Fight Club. We can talk about that another day. Does that hot take make you angry? Well, that's okay. All emotions are valid here today and any day, because I'll be reviewing Disney and director Kelsey Mann's Inside Out 2. This film review will be accompanied by a review of Agora Downtown Coffee Shop located in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Please take a seat, stay a while, and let's talk speedrunning a Pixar movie over some coffee. Right. Yeah. But first, please make sure to follow at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and TikTok. There you can stay up to date on new releases, see coffee pictures that go along with each episode, get some quick movie thoughts from yours truly, exclusive coffee thoughts, and submit Dear Coffee Nick letters. Again, that's at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and TikTok. Now, as always, I like to do a little check-in. How are we doing out there? How's everything going? It is hot out. That is the first thing I would like to check in on. Please, make sure you always have water with you. Make sure you are dressing appropriately. I know that you think layers and a little sweater and those baggy jeans that the kids are wearing these days. I know you think that's cute and you're going to wear it regardless of the heat, but let's think here. Let's think. Let's not do that. It's okay to not look cute in the summer. It's okay to not look cute anytime. But let's lower the priority. Fashion is not a priority when it's this hot out. So please dress appropriately, wear sunscreen. You should be putting sunscreen on every day. I don't do that. I put it on my face every day. I don't put it on my whole body every day, but you should. And be drinking water. I know I encourage coffee drinking here, but let's plan it out. Let's not be drinking coffee nonstop, although that's what we want to be doing, in the long term. We'll get there one day. Once the temperature cools down a little bit, it's hot out. My goodness. No, my goodness. My God. It's hot out. Do something about this. Anyways, I would like to say that I am so sorry that I skipped a release week. I promised myself I would never do it, and I promise that it won't happen again. I had allergies, and they were kind of nasty allergies, really congested, and it messed up my voice, and I couldn't talk right, and I just had all this buildup. It was just nasty and gross, and personally, I don't like when my favorite podcasts do a recording when they are sick and their voice is messed up. I get why they do it, because they have to make that money and they have agreements and everything they have to fulfill. But I like to listen to a clear voice. So I decided to put this on pause a little bit and to give my voice the time and the space to heal. And here we are. So I'm so sorry that I skipped a week. I just needed a minute. But I mentioned this earlier, and I have to say it now. Happy 10th episode! Woo! Happy 10th episode. I am so excited about it. We made it. Thank you all so much for listening to the show thus far. I have so many exciting things planned for the show in the future, and I cannot wait to get to them with you. I know I've mentioned to you all why I started this podcast. It's always been, a personal outlet for me to flex my brain's creative muscles and talk about things that I'm passionate about, to give myself that space to talk about those things. But I would not still be doing this if I did not have you all listening. it is very validating to have this show received by so many people and to have those people interact with it. So many people message me after an episode comes out and they talk to me about, what they liked about it or what they agreed with or disagreed with. And, or, every time someone submits a Dear Coffee Nick, it feels great to have people like also taking part in this show that I'm so passionate about. So thank you all for doing this. I hope this show has been just as fun for you as it has been for me. And like I said, there is so much more on the horizon. A preview of some of those things. I'm planning on adding a video element at some point this summer, hopefully. We'll see if I have the resources to invest in video element equipment. I'm planning a 4 or 5 part series focusing on one director. If you know me, you could probably guess who that director is, but I'm thinking that will be out sometime in August. And more. I'm planning lots more. I'm definitely like expanding my social media content and everything. So there's a lot to be excited about. And I hope that you guys are excited about it too. So thank you. Thank you. Life has been, I don't know. I don't know how life has been. I feel like apart from my allergies, my life has been work, going to work, commuting to work and back from work, and maybe if I'm lucky, watching one episode of Friends at night before I fall asleep or while I fall asleep. I sometimes can't even make it through an episode of Friends, and that's a little sad. And I have time for a lot of coffee. I've been trying so many new coffee shops. In fact, I have about like 5 coffee reviews kind of like planned out for the next episodes, but movies is where I'm falling behind. And I just don't have so much time for movies, and I really hate that. Anyways, I am rambling. I do want to say though, I did finish All About Love by Bell Hooks, and of course I highly recommend it. It is in fact a book all about love. I think I feel this way about every Bell Hooks book. I think the world would be a much better place if everyone read this book and took it to heart. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I really talked about this book a lot on the last episode, so I don't want to talk about it too much again. But something I got out of it is how helpful it is to like the society you live in to focus on community, whether that be like serving others or whether it be just smiling or striking up like small talk with a stranger, just like kind small talk. And just connecting with people that you don't know, like that's so validating to do. And it's just like a way of spreading love and creating a society that centers around love. That was like a big takeaway from the book for me. I got a lot of other ones, of course, but that's something that's really at the forefront of my mind. And I'm trying to be intentional about is being a good like community member. And while I wish I had more time for like community service, I could definitely like be friendly to just people I pass by, even if it's not reciprocated, just kind of creating that environment wherever I go. So I recommend reading it. It's really good. Anyways, let's get into it. I've made you all wait long enough for some coffee and movies, so let's get into the coffee and the movies. All right, now brewing our luxury coffee discussion and review segment. Now brewing in today's episode is coffee from Agora Downtown Coffee Shop in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Some of you may know that this is my second ever full coffee shop review. I've been here multiple times, but really have gotten the same thing every time. But I do feel comfortable kind of talking about this place as a whole. I only do that if I've been here like multiple times or have tried like a lot of their menu items all at once. The first thing, though, that I want to describe here is the shop itself. Now, having done some research, I would like to share that Agora is owned by 2 sisters named MJ and Andy, and the shop is actually located in one of the oldest buildings in Fredericksburg, built in 1787. Yes, one of the oldest buildings in Fredericksburg, built in 1787. That alone, just the fact that this building exists is crazy. And the fact that there is a coffee shop here inside this building is even crazier. What was that? That was, 11 years after, was it the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, right? 11 years after Agora Coffee Shop was started. Just kidding. The building that it is now in was built. Crazy. I don't know. That's just crazy to me. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. I'll get over it one day that this is like a historic building. But not only does Agora sell coffee, but they also sell baked goods, used books, and souvenirs as well. The shop itself is small, but it is very perfect. I think it's very warm, cozy, and welcoming. Definitely creates like that third place atmosphere that you want from a coffee shop, especially one like this. And the building has so much character, but that's obvious since it is a historic building. The back area of the cafe, the seating area, is very eclectic and unique, and it is the perfect place to catch up with a long lost lover, read a physical print newspaper, or do some intensive research on critical media theory. What I'm saying is, this atmosphere is for anyone. Everybody say love. This atmosphere is for anyone and everyone. Everybody say love. I love an inclusive atmosphere and space where I can also get a cup of coffee, read a used book, mama. Say love. Yeah, this is a lovely little place. Moving towards the coffee. This is the item they serve. This is their specialty. The first item I would like to mention, in this discussion, the number one thing a coffee shop can do to receive my love, my praise, my approval, my respect, and this is something that they do, is that they do not charge for oat milk. One more time, Agora Downtown Coffee Shop does not charge for oat milk. Are we taking notes? Are we taking notes? Because why are we, as a coffee-obsessed country, profiting off of people with dairy sensitivities? It's sick. It's wrong. Frankly, I could make the argument that it's homophobic. So the first and the central idea that I would like to say about Agora Downtown Coffee Shop is that I adore them, I love them, and they are my role model, my hero, and they do not charge for oat milk. It's that easy. So Agora, first and foremost, thank you for not charging for non-dairy alternatives. Second, this menu is so unique. These drinks are very wacky, and you can only get ones like this at this shop. Speaking of the drinks, 3 out of the 4 or 5 times that I've been to this coffee shop, I have gotten the same thing, and that is the white chocolate lemon lavender mocha. Lots of flavors in that one. This drink though is just splendid. It is bright, it's sweet, it's flavorful. You get all of those different flavors. Again, white chocolate, lemon, and lavender. You know, the lemon is very interesting for a coffee drink. It does have kind of like a lemonade or lemon pound cake flavor to it. But all of these flavors together creates a beautiful flavor profile. I feel like I'm sitting in the gardens of a lovely British royal estate. Straight off the set of Bridgerton, there are like bumblebees and butterflies flying around, pollinating the earth. And I'm in my beautiful royal gown. My hair is like all in curls and everything. I'm, of course, wearing like these white lace gloves. And I'm sitting in the garden, and the garden has like gravel pathways. And yeah, I'm sipping on my white chocolate lemon lavender mocha. Okay. Okay. The second drink I would like to talk about is the brown sugar cinnamon latte, which I've gotten, I think, 2 times now. This one is delicious. I'm a fan of these flavors. These flavors are classic. When I used to work for a undisclosed corporate coffee shop, my go-to drink was very similar to this one. And this one does the same thing, but so much better, and it does not charge for oat milk. Again, um, and this is mainly thanks to the wonderful espresso that the shop offers that makes this drink and really every drink here so delicious. The third drink, and this one I kind of had to rack my brain because I was like, have I had this one before? I have, is the chili pepper mocha. This is spicy. They definitely deliver on the chili pepper part. It is not for the faint of heart, but it also has a sweet edge to it, which is very nice. It is very spicy. I personally do not enjoy like the ultra spicy mocha coffee drinks. I like to be a little more comfortable when I drink my coffee, but that's not to say that this drink is bad. It is just not for me. One drink here that I would just like to talk about. I've never tried this drink. I just see it every time, but never end up getting it. It's called the Strangely Delicious. This is orange juice, raspberry syrup, and espresso over ice, which sounds horrific. This sounds gross. But, the name says strangely delicious. So I think I just have to try it because, yeah, it's probably strangely delicious. So I am going to try this one next time, and I'd love to do a separate review just on this one because I think it would definitely deserve one just being so crazy and unique. My one complaint about the shop, and this is an extremely minor complaint because there's like nothing they can do about it, is that nearly every time I go here, there's no seating available. That's just because this is such a wonderful and rightfully popular coffee shop, and it's in a historic building. So, like I said, nothing they can really do for it. But I would just love to sit here and experience the cafe atmosphere a little more. But, from what I've seen, it's lovely. And like I said, not holding it against them. Overall, Agora Downtown Coffee Shop absolutely, absolutely gets the Nick pick. Agora is a wonderful, intimate coffee shop with unique and flavor packed drinks, rich espresso, and a one of a kind atmosphere. I'm glad we talked about that. But now I think it is time to talk about my coffee thought for this week. My coffee thought is an outlet dedicated to voice my many incoherent thoughts over a lovely cup of coffee. And with me, I don't have coffee because it's a little too late at night, but I do have water, my Owala water bottle. And I'm so mad because I dropped this from about knee height yesterday. Like I was holding it by my knees and I dropped it. And it broke. The top broke. And one of the little springy things in the lid is now sticking out and it pokes me. And I just got this for my birthday. So that's a little frustrating because, this is a $30 water bottle, which if you think about that, that's a little crazy too. That we are now at the point where we're paying $30 for a water bottle. And, this is it's high quality, except for it breaks when you drop it. But it will, the ice stays in here for the whole day, does not melt at all. And the drink is like ice cold, almost too cold all day long. So it does deliver on those fronts, but we are really paying $30 for a water bottle these days. Not only that, if I was a Stanley girly, I'd be paying, what is that, 50, 60, maybe more? I don't know. It's a little crazy. And then like what is going to happen to those water bottles in 20 or 30 years or hell, like even 5 years when we don't want them anymore and the Stanley trend like fades away. We could donate them. I think that's the number one thing to do when we don't want them. But I sometimes find it hard to believe that everybody is donating things they don't want. And it kind of scares me sometimes because I think, oh, I think when people don't want things anymore, they just throw them in the trash. I don't know. Donating to me is like such a norm. in my household. Like my whole life, we would do little donation runs. Like we would get things together, clean out our rooms, and we would donate the stuff that we didn't want to use anymore, or we couldn't use, or that didn't bring us joy. We donated it. Maybe it'll bring someone else more use or joy. I don't know. It scares me to think that that's not the norm for everyone. Uh, because there's just like so much stuff I see people getting, just like knickknacks and stuff. And sure, I love knickknacks, and I'm a fan of like, just you have every right to buy the things that bring you joy. But it does make me a little nervous. Like, where are all these things going to end up at the end of that item's life cycle? Most likely in a landfill eventually. But if we just keep making stuff, this is very much like baby's first time thinking about the environment. I've thought about this stuff before, but I'm just thinking out loud right now. So just roll with me. It, this isn't even the official coffee thought, but I'm having trouble thinking of a coffee thought. So this might just be it. Yeah, this is baby's first time thinking about the environment. But yeah, I guess rampant consumerism, that's not cool. That's not cool. I don't like that. I did get to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I am buying so many things, or I'm holding on to so many things. Here it is. Here's the coffee thought. At one point during COVID, I, I've always loved LaCroix, sparkling water. Oh my gosh, this was my coffee thought on the last episode, wasn't it? Well, I have something different to say about it. um, as you all know now, I'm a big fan of LaCroix and sparkling water. At one point during the COVID lockdown, like the worst of it, I decided that I wanted to collect every single can of LaCroix that I used. So I did just that. I would have about 2 LaCroix every day. I would keep all the cans. And yeah, I just did that for about a year, maybe a year and a half or 2 years. I don't know. It must have been a year and a half or so. And I would stack them up in my room to make a giant wall of LaCroix cans, or like a giant block of LaCroix cans. But it got to the point where they were so stacked up like on each other that they would topple over, and it'd create like a huge mess in my room. And it was just really frustrating to keep having to put them back together and everything. I would even bring like the LaCroix I would have when I was away at college. I'd bring them home in like a garbage bag, and I would contribute those to the wall as well. And I didn't think it was gross. I didn't think this is gross because it is just water. It's naturally flavored water. It's not moldy. It's not going to, attract bugs or anything. It's just water. And I would make sure all the cups were like completely empty. But it was just like, why was I holding on to junk? I it just got to too much, and it forced me to realize these other things about me where I was like, I'm holding on to so many things like physically that do not bring me joy anymore, or that I don't have a use for, or I'm just buying things without thinking about like what I will use it for. Or I'm not like repurposing the things that I do have. It's just like consumerism. That's what it is. It's collecting, it's holding on to things, it's getting more things, getting the things that I'm told to get. So I eventually did recycle all of the LaCroix cans, and it was about 700 cans, which is kind of crazy. And I took off all of the little pop tags and I gave them to my friends that collected those for charity. So they went somewhere. I could have done that thing where I turn it in to wherever state and they give me like money for the cans, but it would have came out to like a couple dollars, and I figured it's not really worth it. So I just recycled all of them. I hope they live a better life in some recycled product, but it helped me to realize that I was holding on to so much physically onto things that I don't need and I don't have any use for. It is nice to have things around me that aren't exactly like useful or practical, but that was just excessive, I think. And, if you think about it, I think like that was also a sign of my inner habits too. And maybe I was holding on to a lot emotionally that I didn't have a use for anymore. And it was time to let go and make space for new things. Um, yeah, that's my coffee thought. That was actually a really beautiful coffee thought. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's it. All right. It's time for the main event. Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is. It is time for Now Showing, which is our feature ideological analysis and critical film review segment by yours truly. Now Showing this week is Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 is 2024's Disney Pixar film directed by Kelsey Mann. The film is a direct sequel to the 2015 original and follows Riley in her personified inner emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust as they experience puberty. The emotions are sent into a spiral, though, when they are overthrown by all new emotions brought about by puberty, which include anxiety, played by Maya Hawke, and envy, played by Ayo Edebiri. Now, I have a lot to say here. Originally, I was not planning on reviewing this movie, but I have a lot to say, so I'm going to say it. I want to start by saying that this film understands its materials very well. I appreciate that the people that made this movie and that made the first movie understood a bit about psychology and how emotions work. I'm not saying they are psychologists or that this movie is the guidebook to like understanding your mind or psychology, but they just put a lot of thought into this concept and to the sort of like phenomenons behind it. They at least have a solid understanding of emotions and have really thought this out. And Inside Out 2 continues that trend from the first one, and I like how it really builds off of it as well. I don't quite remember the first movie. I saw it when it first came out. I was, 14 years old. But I will say that this one feels new, at least. It feels fresh, and it has new things to say about emotions and about personality, too. I was really surprised with how much this film addressed self-esteem issues and how well it was able to do so. I was not expecting that. I was sort of just expecting more kind of emotional stuff, but really the message here was about self-esteem and how someone views themselves, which I liked that. I liked the direction they went in. Now, I also want to talk about something that I call the Pixar gimmick, and it is when Pixar personifies things to make a movie. We have had this with cars, elements, emotions, toys, fish, monsters, I guess you could say. It's basically taking these things and adding humanity to them and saying like, "Oh, look, isn't this entertaining? They're humans, really." Um, I understand these are kids' movies. They don't have to be super complex. I think kids deserve good, well thought out, critically thought out, and complex movies at times. I mean, look at the Spider-Verse movies. So I think Pixar can be very gimmicky sometimes. Like, imagine if any of these films, Cars, Elementals, Inside Out, Toy Story, imagine if those were humans instead of like their respective things. They would be a lot less entertaining and they wouldn't have as much to say. So I think the issue with the Pixar gimmick is that is making the message more memorable than the gimmick. I think only few of these gimmicks have been able to do that. I think Toy Story makes the message more memorable. Elemental surprisingly did that. Monsters Inc. did that. Finding Nemo did that. I do not think Cars did that. I do not think Inside Out has ever done that. And I think that holds true here as well. Really, I don't think that the Inside Out movies have anything new to say or explore. I'm not saying that it's bad, that any of these movies are bad, but they're just not strong. And I think the Inside Out movies fall into that. The gimmick is sort of more memorable than the message of the movie is. Like when I think back to the first movie, I just think of like, oh, that's the one with the emotions, and not like, oh, that's the one where Riley realizes she can't trust her inner thoughts or whatever. I don't even remember what the first movie was about. I will say that I think the premise to this film is also great. I think that this is the perfect moment in someone's life to explore when you do have this gimmick. Puberty is a time that we can all relate to. So you immediately have, all audience members able to understand and relate to this character. And it's also a moment that plays into your gimmick so well. I mean, you are a ball of emotions. Your emotions are completely off whack and imbalanced. So this is really the perfect premise for an Inside Out sequel to be. I do think, though, that it might have been worth exploring someone else's emotions outside of Riley. I think that would have allowed the film to feel newer and be less confined. I don't think that there is much reason to stay with Riley because, for the sake of this story, she is just the girl that is housing these emotions. And she's not necessarily the one we're attached to, it's the emotions. So as long as we have the emotions still, I think it would have been fine. And it would have been really cool to see like a different personality kind of like leading the subplot here. I think that the pressure to continue following Riley as the subject of the film really made the film feel more cliched and heavy handed. Like they were kind of just forcing situations on her. And I don't know. The whole like hockey camp trying to fit into friends and everything. I just don't know how well that worked. And I think this really is a different conversation. It leads me into my next point, and this is my first like major critique of this film, is that it feels so rushed. It feels so rushed. Like this is a speed run of a movie. It is 90 minutes. It's around 90 minutes. So it is a quick movie nonetheless, but they I don't know what happened. They were trying to fit so much into those 90 minutes and make it so action packed when it did not need to be. And not even action packed. It was just so like there wasn't any room to breathe watching this, I feel like. This was mainly due to the dialogue between the characters. I do not think there was a moment in this film where a character was not talking. Even like when a character was doing something, like an action, they were still talking as they did it. No one in this movie would shut up. They, like everyone was consistently yapping. I it was too much. I had to disassociate like halfway into this because it was just so much like thrown at me. They were putting so much in front of you. There was so much talking. There wasn't even time to interpret or process like what one character was saying to the other. It was like in the editing process, they cut out like any time there was like even a breath between lines. It, I don't know why this decision was made. Actually, I have an idea why this decision was made. I'll get to that in a second. This Having your film be so rushed and having it be so dialogue heavy, and actually just having the film just be dialogue, like literally no just empty space. This is not good. This, in my opinion, leaves no space for your audience to be impacted, to laugh, to cry, to enjoy, to process. There's no space to be an audience member, in my opinion. This movie almost robs the audience of any power that they have as an audience member. And I don't like that. This is not good. And one thing I did notice is that no one was laughing at this film. I don't think this film was funny, like at all. These jokes really fell flat. But I mean, maybe more people would have been receiving the jokes well if they even had time to laugh at them. Even if there was like a joke where I was like, oh, that maybe that could have worked if they said it differently. It's not like anyone even had the chance to reconsider the joke or laugh about it because it was just like they were on to the next thing in less than a millisecond. There's no room for the audience to react. It's crazy. I was so surprised by this. This really causes the moments that do allow us to be impacted feel very overproduced. There's maybe two moments in this film where there's actually silence and there's characters sort of like experiencing emotion and not talking and just feeling something. And you very clearly know like this is the moment where the studio executives want you to cry. It's like here's your Pixar emotional moment. Enjoy. Have this is what you came for, right? This is what we have every time. Um it just felt very overproduced. It I feel like these moments did not come by naturally because they were the only moments with silence and with space for us to react to them. So it's almost this makes me feel like they knew what they were doing. They were withholding the space from us to react for these moments. And then when they gave us these moments, finally we were able to react. This makes me think that they know what they're doing and they're manipulating the way this story is structured and its pacing, which I don't like. And I feel like, and I'm getting to why I think this is, I feel like this is because they are trying to profit off of what they believe to be the attention span of audiences. I'm not saying that this is actually what people's attention spans are, but this is what they think they are. And they might be right, they might be wrong. I don't know. Another thing that makes me feel like they are just assuming that the audience has no attention span is that the script does all the work for the audience. Everything is over explained, completely spelled out. Even if there was room to interpret like what was being said, they just basically the characters interpret it for you. Like everything is talked about. They basically tell you how to feel about this film. The script does all the work for the audience. And this is another reason why I think I really disengaged and dissociated from this film, because I become engaged when I can explore what different things could mean and when I can interpret things. So when everything is spelled out and when this story is just like filled up, no room for interpretation or impact, it's boring to me. And it feels like I could be watching this film on TikTok. Like months from now, I'm going to be scrolling through TikTok and this film is going to be broken up into like, I don't know, 230-second clips that you have to go to someone's profile to watch all the different parts. And the screen is going to be like cut off with someone cutting slime or playing with slime. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but this film, I don't, I think it is trying to work with people. It's trying to work with the TikTok era and with this like just very quick short form content that has to like grab your attention and hold your attention. It's not letting go. I think it's so scared of losing people's attention, which I don't think it needs to be scared about because it's an animated film. People love it. They love the first one. And it is a wonderful concept. It has heart. It's a coming of age story. You do not need to make your film so fast paced and so over explained for people to be invested in it. Even if it's a kids movie, kids are still able to invest in a good movie without all these shenanigans. The next thing that I have an issue with in Inside Out 2 is I just don't think these characters have things to be doing. Anger, disgust, fear, all of them are just kind of there. They're along for the ride. And like I said, this movie is, I did not laugh once. I really don't think it's funny. So it's not like they're there for the comedic relief or anything or any emotional moments. This movie, once again, is really about joy and sadness. And, kind of with the new emotions, it's really just about anxiety. Even the new emotions, most of them don't really serve a huge purpose. Embarrassment kind of does, but really that could have been anyone. Boredom doesn't do anything. And envy is sort of like comedic relief, but not super funny. Uh, just kind of there to say things, I guess, and be cute, so they can sell little envy plushies at Disney World, I guess. These characters do not have things to do. This could have been just a movie about joy, sadness, and anxiety. And one of the most standout, or I guess not standout, one of the most forgettable emotions in this movie is disgust. I kept having to remind myself what emotion she was throughout the film. Because I was thinking she was envy, but then there was this new emotion that was envy. So I'd get confused and I'd be like, is she like the diva emotion? Because I get emotional, like diva energy sometimes. because that's kind of what she does. She's not like always disgusted. So it's kind of unclear, like, who is she? But she's disgust. But also, I feel like she's been envy this whole time. And I think that makes sense because, like, if someone is green with envy, you know, the saying, which, you know, the actual envy that this movie introduced was blue. So, blue with envy? If this, I mean, maybe they just didn't want two green characters. But by making envy blue, they have two blue characters because sadness is blue. Am I the only one that knows green with envy? Is that not a popular saying? Maybe am I overthinking this? I don't think I am. This is Pixar movies we're talking about. I think they're meant to be like overthought about. I don't know. But long story short, these characters did not have a lot to do and were very forgettable, which was a shame because you could, their emotions, I mean, you could have them doing so much. And like, I think this movie just, you know, there is so much potential for subplot content and seeing these emotions interact with other emotions and stuff like that. Because really, you don't see the new emotions interacting with the older emotions too much, which is disappointing as well. They kind of separate from each other very early on. And it's not until the end that you get to see them like coexisting. So that's a little upsetting too. This kind of leads me into my next critique, which is I feel this film was just creatively lacking. This very much just feels like content. This really, it was, did not add anything to Inside Out. I feel like this film did not do enough and did not create its own identity enough to really warrant existing. So it just feels like content that they know will sell, and it is selling really well. So good for them. But yeah, it's just kind of a shame to see what Pixar is doing, because I've loved their recent original projects so much. You know, Luca, Soul, and Turning Red. Those are some of my favorite Pixar movies ever. So I really hope they don't do too much of like this sequel IP stuff. But from what I've heard, they're focusing on sequels. So great. Great, great, great. Another thing, just creatively, that the film did is that it had different animation styles in it for some characters, like side characters. And I thought this was really cool. And it reminded me, like, oh, we're in someone's mind right now. Why isn't there more of this? Like these crazy different animation styles. You know, we should be seeing like imagination on full display. There was like just enough characters for this to be a thing in the movie. Like, oh yeah, different animation styles. But they there wasn't enough of this for it to be explored. So it just made me think like, why is it here? It felt very out of place just because there was so little of this. I don't know. Why didn't they just go full throttle with it? I also think this film limited itself. I think there should have been more emotions. I think the emotions that they did pick to depict puberty are very accurate. I think those are sort of emotions that are tied to puberty. But like I was saying, puberty, you are just a ball of emotions. You're experiencing every emotion there is out there. So I feel like there should have been sort of the like HQ of Riley's mind should have been overrun with emotions at one point. Like I wanted to have this be like the Spider-Verse of emotions. Like let's see confidence, let's see love, let's see shame. I don't know. Let's go crazy with it. Yeah, I just think there's just so many areas for opportunity here still. And it makes me think like, why was this 90 minutes? You know, they were rushing themselves so much. So why not just give yourself more time? I don't know. Why are we limiting ourselves? And also, I think this film could have been the same exact film at 90 minutes and not felt so rushed and fast paced and crazy. Just because there were so many lines and so much dialogue that you know, could have just been crossed out. If my English professor from college saw this script, he would be putting so many like big black X's through these pages and saying that this is not necessary because the exposition writing in this was so bad. Like I said, things were just so over explained. My last little gripe And this isn't like particularly a problem with Inside Out 2 itself, just a problem with like this concept. Why are the emotions specific genders? For example, why is anger a man or masculine? And why is joy and sadness feminine? To me, it feels just like a little problematic. I know that this isn't exactly what they weren't intending to do this, and they're not per se doing anything bad, but they are playing into a system and stereotypes that I think are bad. I think it connotates that anger is an emotion for men, and having joy and sadness as women sort of connotates that those emotions are feminine. And this is a movie for children. So what are we teaching children about emotions? Like, what is the subtext we are sending to them? Because they are internalizing what we are putting in front of them. And I don't know. Like, since Riley is a girl, why not just make all the emotions in her head girls? Or just make the emotions like genderless, like emotions are genderless. Let's just make them like little floating bubbles or little clouds. I don't know. I just it's a little weird to me. Am I overthinking it? I don't know. Also, why is embarrassment plus sized? Why did embarrassment have to be big? That to me feels a little wrong. I don't know. What do we think about that? Um what is everyone's thoughts? Because I saw this like online when they first revealed the new emotions. It's like, oh yeah, embarrassment's got to be the big one. Like exactly. Why? I don't know. Like, what is the subliminal message that is being sent to not just kids but anyone watching this? Like, is being big associated with embarrassment? Is that the message we're trying to? Yeah, I don't know. It just feels messy to me. I expect a little bit more. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I've been reading too much bell hooks, but yeah, I don't know. Do better. Think it through a little bit more. Yeah. So I feel like I was just ragging on this movie a lot, but I do like I said, I like the premise here. I think they made an excellent choice in depicting puberty. I ended up really liking the message. I think that they kind of nailed the landing on the message and what they were talking about with self-esteem and personality and how we view ourselves. And also like I like to see I really liked when I saw like the emotions letting go and letting Riley be Riley, instead of the emotions trying to dominate who Riley is. These are all really cool concepts, and I feel like they are important lessons about the mind. So those are good lessons that this movie is teaching. But I cannot get over how rushed this movie felt. I cannot get over how it left absolutely no room for the audience to interpret anything, to feel anything. And it only left room for that when it wanted there to be room for that. I just think that this film had held on to such control with the audience and tried to manipulate its audience in some way. And that doesn't feel right to me. So this does not sit right with me. And I do not like this film for those reasons. And I just think it could have been a better film. I've seen better from Pixar. I've seen better sequels from Pixar. I've seen funnier. I've seen better animation like several years ago. I remember Toy Story 4. I think that's the best Pixar animation I've seen. And this movie, I don't think lived up to it. I don't think this movie did anything new per se. So yeah, for that reason, I give Inside Out 2 the Nick Mix. Inside Out 2 is a film that leaves little for me to enjoy, to connect with, or to even interpret because of its unreasonably fast paced dialogue and story. The film feels overscripted, with priority given to dialogue that was written on the page rather than visually forward or subtle plot moments. The film spells out and feels the need to explain everything to its audience, making it feel very impersonal. In the end, Inside Out 2 eventually finds a pathway to letting audiences have an emotional moment, but for some reason, it wants to speedrun to that pathway. The movie feels like a product of a bunch of Maya Hawke anxiety emotions running around a writer's room. Yikes. And yeah, there we have it. I think this is another one of my more controversial movie reviews. A lot of people are really enjoying this movie. Maybe I just was not in the mental state. My emotions were not in check to see this movie. Maybe I was just in La La Land. I don't think I was. I feel like I was ready to watch this. I just could not keep up. I do recommend this movie because of the lessons it teaches you, and I feel like it does a good job depicting some of those lessons, and it is cute. It's fun. But I just feel like I couldn't take away anything from it. And if a movie can't do that for me, then what's the movie for? So yeah, I do encourage you to watch it and develop your own opinion, of course, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, and usually our next segment is Dear Coffee Nick. In this segment, I read letters from fellow coffee and movie enjoyers about their own coffee and movie opinions, reviews, hot takes, or whatever. Unfortunately, this week we will not be having Dear Coffee Nick because I have been rambling on and on and on. But if you would like to send in a letter, please feel free to write Dear Coffee Nick through DM on social media or email coffeenicksmoviepics@gmail.com. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode of Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. I am so glad to see the show at its 10th episode. This has been just such a wonderful journey and experience, and I can't wait to keep doing it. I know it sounds funny saying that after skipping a week, but I will make up for it, I promise. So there might be an episode coming sooner than you think. We'll see. But I also know I said this would be the Madam Web and Catwoman episode. You know, I'll get to it. I'm sorry. I really want to make that episode, but it is hard to watch and write reviews for two movies, let alone one. So I will get to it. I really want to do that. It is coming. I will make it up to you guys. But we're at 10 episodes. Woohoo! Thank you all for being here. Like I said, thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow the show's accounts on social media and share the show with your friends. I would greatly appreciate it if you shared it. That helps a lot. But until next time, I'll be thinking about buildings built in 1787. Wow. 1787. Wow. And it's still standing. How does that work? Wouldn't the wood rot and break apart? How, you know, I don't, well, like I said, I'll be thinking about it. All right, I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks again for listening to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. Our opening theme is Summer Solstice on the June Planet, and our closing theme is I Feel It All So Deeply, both songs by Bell Bonds. Before you go, please be sure to follow the show on social media at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, and give the show the Nick pick by rating it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much.